On page 17, today we are going to be doing, it looks very similar again, we're going to be doing two questions together up here on the board. The first one is ungrouped data, which is the exact same thing that we were doing last lesson, but the second question moves on to something slightly different, which is where we're doing grouped data and we will be having some class intervals that we need to work with. Okay, both of them involve finding means, median, modes, and drawing graphs to go with them. All right, so let's start with the familiar one. This is our ungrouped data. We have students asked to do a survey and asked how many people are in their family. The results are, and it is very similar to the one we were doing last time. The results are slightly different though. If we look through the data, the smallest number that I can see, I think, is a 2. The biggest number that I can see is an 8. So that tells us that in the score, we need to start with 2 and list every number all the way up to 8. Then we have to fill in our tally. So we carefully cross off the 6 and put a tally line in. Then there's 2 3s, so we're going to put 2 tally lines next to the 3. 2 and 4, 5 and 4, 5, 8, 5, 8 again, 6, 7, 6, 5, 8, 4, 7, 6, and 4. Is that all right? Did I go too fast? Okay. Now you just need to count up how many tally lines you have because that makes the frequency. So there is 1 line, 2, 4, 4, 4, 2, and 3. When we add them all up, we should get 20. Meant to get 20 there. Okay, then we're going to do the fx column, which means we multiply the f and the x together. 2 times 1 makes 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 2 is 14. And 8 times 3 is 24. And then we need to add that column up. Has anyone done that? 106. Good. Okay, then we're going to find our range, mode, median, and mean, and then our quartiles and so on. So first of all, the range. Looking at our scores on the left-hand side, the highest score is an 8 and the lowest score was a 2. So we're going to do 8, take away 2, which is equal to 6. The mode is the most occurring. Now, if we're only looking at the scores, we can only see each number once. So we're looking at our frequency column to see which ones happen the most. And these ones here, 4, 4, 4, there's 3 of them that all happen the same number of times. So I have to list all of them, 4, 5, and 6. Median. Now, before you write anything in the median down the bottom here, this is where I do a little calculation on the side of my table. I use my n plus 1 over 2 formula. I have 20 numbers in this table. So I'm going to go 20 plus 1 over 2. What does that equal? Because it means that it helps you to find the middle. You need to find the one position in the middle. It's 10.5. Think of it like a rule. It's always plus 1. Okay? So we need the 10th and the 11th. The 0.5 means I need the 10 and the 11 on either side of that. I'm going to count down my tally marks to find the 10th and the 11th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are both in the 5, which means 5 is my median. I'm going to do the quartiles while I'm going to leave the mean for a second. I'm going to finish this and do the quartiles now. So because I had 10.5 here, that means that there's 10 numbers below the median and 10 above. So I want to find the middle of my 10 numbers, which means I'm going to do 10 plus 1 over 2, which is 5.5. So this is where we count from the top of the tally down 5 and 6, and we're going to go from the bottom up to find the Q3. These are the quartiles. This is for the quartiles. The 0.5, the 10.5 means it's between the 10th and the 11th. Okay, so the 10.5 is not actually a score. It means there's 10 numbers below it. Okay, so you always round down. Okay, so I'm looking for the 5th and the 6th. That's a 5. So counting down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 are both in here, which is a score of 4. That is the Q1. The Q3 means we're going to start at the bottom and count 5 or 6 going back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. They're in 2 different numbers, which means I need to find the middle of 6 and 7. What's the middle of 6 and 7? 6.5. So you can either do that in your head, or I was writing that down as 6 plus 7 over 2, and that's how you get the 6.5 if you're ever not sure. Okay, let's finish off with the interquartile range. That's the Q3 minus the Q1, so that's 2.5. The one that I skipped, the mean over here. Mean is found with these numbers at the bottom of my table. The sum of fx is adding up all of the scores in your data. So that's the number that goes on the top of your fraction, 106. You divide that by 20 because the sum of your frequency, that's telling you there's 20 scores in your data. 106 divided by 20 is 5.3. Okay, then we have to graph it. The title for this was the number of people in a family again. So number of people in the family. Okay, we're going to set up our axes. Across the bottom is going to be the X values, the scores. So make sure you label that the X, and our scores from our table went from 2 up to 8. So we're going to use every second space and count from 2 all the way up to 8. And if we remember, which we should, do an extra space because we know that polygon needs that extra space. Okay, then the vertical axis is going to be the frequency. So ruler again, and I would really suggest people that you should have a ruler in class, but definitely for your test, make sure you're ruling these graphs up nicely. F for frequency, and my frequencies only went up to 4, so let's do every second space again to spread it out a little bit. You could stretch it even further. There's plenty of room there if you wanted to. Okay, first of all, we need to draw the histogram part, which means, looking at my table, the score, the 2, is the number on the bottom, and the frequency is what I'm sketching on the vertical side, so it needs to go up 1. So 2 has a frequency of 1. There should be a 1 space gap in front of that first column, but then no more gaps for the rest of your columns. 3 had a frequency of 2, so they're right next to each other. Each column should be 2 squares wide. 4 had a frequency of 4. 5 was also 4. 6 was also 4. 7 was 2. And 8 was 3. So that is the frequency histogram. To draw the polygon, we put dots at the top center of each one of the columns. We also put a dot in at our 9 here, our extra space. We put a dot there. And we put a dot at our start, at our origin over here. Our histogram should always start on the x-axis, 0, start down here at the bottom, go up and do its thing, and then end again at 0. It needs to be completely closed in with the polygon and that x-axis. Okay, so now you get your ruler again and you do your dot to dot.
Is it a specific color?
No. And I actually recommend for you guys to do all your graphs in pencil, because if you make a mistake, unless it's an erasable pen, that's fine. But normal pens, if you make a mistake on your grid paper, it's really hard to draw the correct one over the top and fix it up. Okay, so I use colours just to help you guys see what's going on a bit better. I wrote up the number of people in the family. Okay, so we've done quite a few of those now. So we want to try the slightly different one, slightly new one. I'll just give you guys a second to finish writing that in. Make sure that you've got that title. Make sure that your axes are numbered and labelled, all those little details. You don't want to lose marks for forgetting something like that. Okay, are we ready? Next one. So this is what we call grouped data. Yeah? So this is what we call grouped data. If I look through all those numbers there, the smallest number is the 5, and I think the biggest number is the 29. That's a lot of things. If I was doing the type that we just did, I would have to start at 5 and count every single number up to 29. That's 24 spaces, right? That's a lot of numbers. We don't want to have to make a table that big. So instead, we're doing what is called class intervals. And you'll see here the table, it's got a few extra things in it. Instead of saying score here, it says class. This means I'm going to select a range of numbers. They have to be the same number in each one to go between. And for this one, I'm going to do 5 numbers at a time. So because my smallest number was 5, I'm going to start with 5. And I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I go from 5 to 9, I've done 5 numbers. Then my next one would be from 10 to 11, 12, 13, 14. It would be 10 to 14. Then 15 to 19, 20 to 24, and that would make 25 to 29, my last one. Now, if you set it up, once you see this a few times, you start to see the patterns. Looking here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you can see the 5s going up there. There's also a pattern on this side. 9 with the last digit. You've got 9 and 19, 4, 24. See that last digit? There's a pattern there. 9, 4, 9, 4, 9. Those second digits are making a pattern down there as well. Okay? So, because I don't want to be putting a usual class thing on my graph, we now have an extra column here. We haven't had this before, which is called a class center. I want to find the middle of these numbers, the center of those numbers. And we do that, how we've been doing it for lots of other things, by averaging the 2 numbers. Which means in our calculators, we type in 5 plus 9 and we put it over 2. So the middle of those two numbers is 7. 7 is the class centre. You guys try it. What is the centre of 10 and 14? Yes, 12. Good. What is the centre of 15 and 19? 17. Yes, sometimes you don't actually have to calculate them all on your calculator because you will start to see the pattern. 7 and this last digit, they're going up by 5s again. So 7 and the 2, 7, 2, 7, it's going up by 10s here. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So 7, 12, 17, 22, 27. There's a pattern in there. Sometimes, like on a test, because we want you all to do it the same, we might give you the first one, so you're all starting at the same, and you fill in the rest. If it doesn't say, then you're looking for your smallest number, and you want to make sure you're starting with that smallest number in it. If you're doing an interval of 5, you want to stick to like 5, 10, 15, 20 for these first numbers here. You wouldn't start at 3. Okay, that'd be a weird number to start with. Do you know what I mean? So these are all multiples of 5 here because I'm using groups of 5. If I was using groups of 10, I would start all of those with a 10. 10 to 19, 20 to 29, depending on the class size that I need. Okay? All right, next part, the tally. When you do the tally, you've got to see where it fits between, because it won't be the exact number, will it? So 12 is between the 10 and 14, so the tally mark will go in there. So cross that off. 18 is in the 15 to 19 section. 9 is in the 5 to 9. 17 is in the 15 to 19. 20 is in 20 to 24. 7, get the idea? And so you've got to be very careful. Remember the 5th one crosses over. A lot of these numbers, isn't there? Oh, I put that in the wrong spot. Oh, nearly made a mistake. So, do you all get the same thing as me? When you count them all up, we'll double check. So in the first one, you should have 9, 7, 10, 8, and 6. It's very important. Like I've said before, you got to take your time putting that information in your table, because if you put one in the wrong spot, like I nearly did, luckily I saw what I did. You put one in the wrong spot, it messes up your graphs. It messes up your medians and means. It messes everything up. Modal class, mode. Okay, good. Yes, let's keep going. So, to add up all the frequencies, that is equal to 40, yes. Then we want to do f times x. Now, when we did the other ones, the x was the score that we started with. It's not going to be class over here. That's a bit, we couldn't use that. So x is the class center. That's why we need to find that. Now, that means that this is actually going to be more of an estimate for the mean that we're going to calculate for these ones, because I'm not using every single individual raw score. I'm approximating all these ones that are in here, all these tally marks. I'm saying, oh, they're all about 7. They're going to average out to 7. But that's an estimate. They're not all really 7s, were they? Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. Because I'm saying that's the x that I'm going to do here. So now I'm going to times the 7 with the 9. 7 times 9 is 63. 12 times 7 is 84. 17 times 10 is 170. 22 times 8 is 176. And 27 times 6 is 162. Add up that whole column. Oh, very good. Okay, table is complete. Now we need to calculate all these lovely things again. Oh, they're not all, there's only, yep, there's no quartiles, thankfully, for this. We just have the range, median, mode, modal class, it says, and mean. The range is the highest minus the lowest. Now, when we look at our table, yeah? Sorry. When we look at our table, it can be a little bit misleading. Because I've used a class group here, did I actually have a score of 29? Maybe sometimes you wouldn't have. You might have had a 28 and you just had a group there. Was the 5 the smallest? We don't really know. So it's better to come back to the raw data and go, yes, my highest score was 29 and my lowest score was 5. Okay, just to be safe. So my range is 29 minus 5, which is 24. The median is the middle, and I'm going to say in here this is going to be a median class, okay? Because without putting every single one of those numbers, 40 of them, in order from smallest to largest and finding the middle, where we're going to be able to find the middle tally position, but because we put them into classes, we don't have each individual score in there anymore. Okay, so we're just going to find the class. It won't be just one number. Right, so there is 40 numbers in here. We're going to do our 40 plus 1 over 2, which means that is 20.5. We need the 20th and the 21st number. When you see the answers for this, Mrs. Lovell wrote these out, she will just say, she didn't even find the class, she just wrote it's between the 20th and the 21st, okay? But I think we should do the actual class. So let's count down. We've got 9 here, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21. They're both in that section there, which means the class that is in would be the 15 to 19 section. Okay, so in here, 15 to 19 is the class where the median would be. A modal class. Now, again, we're calling it a class, but modal just means mode, which means most occurring. Which class happens the most is the one with the highest frequency. So my frequencies are here. The class, it's the same one again. Yes, 15 to 19 again. And the mean, this is an approximate value for the mean. So you could even put in an approximately equal to sign, which is a squiggly equals. You take those bottom two numbers, which is 655, and you divide it by the 40, those bottom two numbers of your table. That makes 16.375 if I keep all the decimal places. Okay, so a few small changes, but a lot of similarities as well. We still have to draw it. So let's have a, what was this information about? This is a sample of 40 people who were surveyed regarding the number of hours per week they spent watching television. These were the results. Okay, so what are we going to make the title? That's perfect. Hours spent watching TV. Hopefully you guys don't spend 20, what was it, 29? 29 hours. Oh, right, with phones instead. That would be a whole nother set of data. I don't. Okay. Set up your axes. Across the bottom is going to be, well, normally it's our x value. What did we use for x? What was our x in the table? The class center. The class center was the x. So across the bottom, this is going to be, we can use CC, that stands for class center. The class centers, if you read them off your table, were 7, 12, 17, 22, and 27. And we're just going to put a line for our extra space, which is where our polygon's going to come back down. I don't need to work out what the number is. On the vertical axes, we have the frequency. My highest frequency was, what was it, 10, I think. Yes, 10. Do I have 20 spaces? No, it won't fit, so I have to do ones, will I? Did you count them or are you just guessing? You just guessed. Oh, there's one square short. We'll just have to do ones. It was a good guess. Okay, this is the F for frequency. Okay, so I'll tell you the numbers so you don't have to keep flicking back to the other page. But the class center of 7 had a frequency of 9. So 7 goes up to 9. Twelve had a frequency of 7. 17 should go to 10. 22 is 8. And 27 is 6. Okay, then we need to put the dots in the center of each column so that we can draw our polygon. Oh, can't change colours, it's all going to be green. So remember the dot at the beginning and the end. So it starts on the class center line, and then you need nice straight lines, ruled, joining your dot to dot. Should look like that. And that's it. We're finished.
Can you go back?
Any number where?
Oh, please have
Well, you could. What would the next number be?
32.
Yeah. If you wanted to, you could write 32 there. Yes.
Like this.